Congratulations on your purchase of an Alkazone water ionizer. You're just a few minutes away from having healthier water right from your kitchen. There are only a few short steps to the installation process, and after we're done, you'll have pure, antioxidant alkaline water right at your kitchen counter. Let's get started. If you are watching this DVD, we've already taken the contents out of the box. Now, let's begin by looking at each part that we will be using to install the Alkazone ionizer. Most of these parts are located inside the foam padding to the side of the ionizer. First, we have a running water line connection adapter. This will be connecting the ionizer to a running water pipe under your sink. And then you have the diverter, which you need to connect the ionizer to your faucet directly. Next, let's look at the water hoses. There are two sizes included, one thick and one thin. The thinner one will be connecting the ionizer to the running water line connection adapter, or to the diverter that we just looked at. The thicker one will be our acidic water output hose that will take the acid water from the ionizer to the sink. Also included is an acidic water outlet that will help to neatly mount the hose on your sink. Next, we have a hose clamp and a flexible water hose that will be sending water from the ionizer to your glass or cup. Also included are a spare fuse and a test solution kit. Then a coupler set for the diverter. These aren't necessary for the installation, so you can leave them aside for now. Those are the parts that we'll be working with. As for the tools necessary for the installation, we'll just need pliers, a wrench, and a pair of scissors. Take your new Alkazone ionizer and place it on a firm and level surface away from extreme heat. As another option, you can opt to mount it on your wall near your sink. Make sure to place it near an outlet so you can plug in your ionizer. The first thing we need to do before we begin the actual installation is to make sure there is an opening through which the thin water hose can go from the ionizer to under your sink. If you don't have a spare opening such as this in your sink, you'll have to either find another opening, change your faucet type to create one, or drill a hole in the counter. If you decide to get a hole drilled, we highly recommend getting it done by a professional. Let's start by turning the cold water off by turning this all the way to the right. Now that the cold water is off, we're going to disconnect the existing steel hose. To do this, take the wrench and turn it to the right to loosen the nut. Once the steel hose is completely off, we're going to screw on the running water line connection adapter to the pipe. Now take the adapter and hand screw it onto the pipe until it gets a bit tight. And finish tightening it on. Take your wrench and finish tightening it on. Once the adapter is screwed on securely onto the pipe, we're going to reattach the steel hose. Take the steel hose and hand screw it onto the freshly installed adapter. Once it's slightly tight, use the wrench to firmly set the hose onto the adapter. As a note, you can turn this screw on the running water line adapter to adjust the amount of water that is being sent to the ionizer by turning it with a flathead screwdriver to the left or to the right, according to your needs. To install the hoses, begin by laying the ionizer back down on a flat and stable surface. You may want to put down a towel to prevent scratches. To install the hoses, begin by laying the ionizer back down on a flat and stable surface. You may want to put a towel down to prevent scratches. Once you lay down the ionizer, you will see this bottom. Next, just push in the thin hose into water in and pull out a little bit. Then you will see a gap like this. Put the horseshoe insert into there. Take the acid water output hose. Take one clamp and put it over one end of the hose. You'll have to use the pliers to open up the clamp to put it over the hose. Be careful. If it slips off the pliers, it can fly off and cause an injury. Make sure to hold it firmly and get a good grip with the pliers. You'll want to put this a few inches away from the end. Once it's on, take that end of the hose and wet it with some warm water. Be careful as water can leak out through the other end of the hose. Now, let's locate the acid water output tube located here on the bottom of the ionizer. Push the wet tip of the hose over the acid output on the ionizer. Be careful not to twist or put too much force, as it can damage the water input tubing on the ionizer. Once it's on, take the pliers and move the clamp to the end of the tube, and the hose should be firmly set. Make sure the tips of the clamp face away from the counter, as doing so may scratch the counter and make the ionizer unstable. Once both hoses are connected to the ionizer, find the tube and cable opening that's closest to the faucet head and push the hoses through. Then, reattach the panel. You can now stand the ionizer in an upright position. Let's now connect the thin hose to your cold water source. You have two choices for this. 1. Connect it to the diverter attached to your faucet. 2. Connect it to the running water line connection adapter located under the sink. To do it with your faucet, install the diverter to your faucet. You may use some coupler if necessary. After installing the diverter, push in your thin hose end into the water out hole on the diverter and pull it out slightly. Insert the horseshoe into the gap. Let's now connect the thin hose to the running water line connection adapter located under the sink. To do this, take the thin hose and put it into the opening that we located at the beginning of this video. Once the hose is through, we're going to connect it to the adapter. To do this, just push in the thin hose into the hole on the adapter and pull out slightly. Then, insert the horseshoe into the gap like this. We are now finished with the water input hose installation. Last, let's take the free end of the acid water output hose and locate the best place around your sink for this acid water outlet. Insert the end of the acid water output hose into this outlet. Then, locate and push down to be fixed. Let's now connect the flexible metal hose to the alkaline water exit located at the top of the water fountain. Take this end of the flexible metal hose and firmly screw it into the alkaline water exit while twisting the hose. Make sure it's firmly set, but don't over-tighten it. Once it is, we're ready to turn on the ionizer. Now, we're going to plug in the power cord to a 120 volt AC electrical outlet. But before we do that, we must make sure that our hands are dry. Remember, never plug in a power cord with wet hands. There. Now your Alkazone ionizer is one step away from bringing you clean, alkaline, antioxidant water. But before it's completely ready, we'll have to run the water through one time in order to freshen up the new filters. To cleanse your new Alkazone ionizer and its brand new carbon filter, we're going to let cold water run through it for about 10 seconds. All you need to do for this is to turn the water supply adjustment valve to the left and then to the right a little bit. The water might have a slightly dark coloration to it, but don't worry. It's completely normal as it's a brand new carbon filter. You should see it clear out in about 10 seconds. Then you can turn it off. Now that your machine is fully set up, let's go ahead and test the pH of your water using the BHL pH tester drops included with your ionizer. As we test the pH of your water, please keep in mind that as water quality varies depending on where you live, you may get pH that is higher or lower than your chosen setting. To test the pH of your water, turn on your machine and set the pH to 9.5. Put a couple of ounces of water into a cup. Then, add a couple of drops of the pH test solution. You'll see the color change depending on the pH of the water. The water should become a dark blue or purple color. That means that the pH is around a 9.5 and the pH is accurate. If the color is quite different, that means that your water source is different. Check the included pH chart to see what pH the machine is producing from your exact water source. You can raise or lower the pH value to compensate for the difference. And that's it, you're finished. Your new Alkazone ionizer is now ready to turn your faucet water into clean, alkaline, antioxidant water whenever you need it. Thank you again for choosing Alkazone ionizer.